55-year-old arms dealer Victor Bout, also known as the Merchant of Death and was once regarded as the world's most prolific arms dealer, appeared in a Russian interview a few days ago, giving his first interview since he was famously traded for the WNBA player Brittany Griner. Now, in the interview, he highlighted what he thought were the problems with America, and he also briefly mentioned Christianity, a part that I found particularly interesting. So let's go ahead and go through the clip together and talk about it.
Do you hate America?
No. In fact, knowing many inmates, I figure out we're sharing way more common. Maybe America is very much similar. And when you talk to them, there is nothing there even to beef about. We are naturally, born not to be enemies. And whenever there's conflict, it's elites.
Okay, so the clip starts with him saying that he doesn't hate America and really there's nothing to beef about. He seems to be saying that the tension between Russia and America only comes from the elites that are causing all of the division. But real quick, I want to be clear about something before we keep going. I have no idea what Bout's intentions are in the clip, but I will approach them with a healthy dose of caution, especially given Russia's history of propaganda coming from the Russian state media, paired with the fact that this portion of the interview is in English, while all of the other clips that I've been able to find have both Bout and the interviewer, Maria Butina, both speaking in Russian rather than English. And in those other clips, Bout didn't sound so friendly towards America.
То, что происходит на Западе, это просто самоубийство цивилизации.
So the point here is that I don't know Bout's sincerity level here, but we'll leave that aside for the sake of the video. All right, now that we got that out of the way, let's keep it moving.
Every American I met in a prison who is from rural area was very easy to deal with. He has no problem with Russia, and he was curious about Russia, despite all propaganda.
What I found interesting about what he said there was that he implied that he initially had a negative view of Americans and he assumed that they hated Russians and were hostile towards them. I found it interesting that he said that once he met certain Americans, he found out that they were friendly, loving, weren't hostile, and were open-minded. Now, a bit of a side note, this made me think about just how many people there are in the world that have a negative view of Christians, believing that Christians hate non-Christians and will be hostile towards them. It makes me wonder if the non-Christians would also change their mind if they met more Christians who were friendly, loving, non-hostile, and came across as open-minded. If more of us held on to those positive traits, then it'd be pretty hard for them to hold on to that stereotype if they regularly engage with outspoken Christians who exhibit those positive traits. So we should keep that in mind when we're engaging with non-Christians in the world. But anyways, now let's go ahead and hear what he says next when he talks about Christian values in America and Russia.
They're losing their Christian values. They're losing their families. They're losing literally their countries. It's not anymore the same country. We knew America, who used to be a model for entire world and lead and be an example, like they say, sparkling town on a hill. And I feel more empathy to American after this experience than I would feel any hate.
All right, so he talked about how America and Russia are both doing worse since they've been drifting away from their Christian values and family structures. He points to higher drug use and crimes increasing as we move away from Christian values. Now, when it comes to that point, I will say he isn't wrong. Even if his intent here is propaganda, it's still statistically true that a loss of Christian values and religion negatively impacts society, and so does the loss of families. Not only does the evidence show that family structures benefit individuals and provide a positive structure for society, but studies also show that religion is associated with lower rates of drug abuse, divorce, suicide, violence, depression, lower blood pressure, higher immune systems, and plenty more. And when it comes to Christianity in particular, Christianity has been shown in studies to have even greater pro-social benefits for society. So statistically speaking, Bout is correct in pointing out that as society departs from Christianity and Christian values, this serves to negatively impact society as a whole. And I'll go ahead and link some sources to this below, but one thing that I found particularly interesting about these studies and statistics was that when the studies separated intrinsic religious motivation, meaning being internally motivated by wanting to stay in accordance with their religious beliefs, from extrinsic religious motivations, meaning being motivated by what you can get, then self-control and mental health got significantly better. So why do I bring this up? Well, one way that we can look at this information is that when our motivation is no longer self-serving, then not only are we better internally, but we're also better for others in society as well. This could be one of the reasons why Jesus condemned those who cleaned the outside of the cup, which meant that they were trying to show good behavior on the outside, rather than the inside of the cup, meaning changing from within. On Christianity, if we understand the gospel message, being that our salvation is received rather than achieved, then we can be motivated for the right reasons and from a true place inside. We no longer do good things as a way to try to gain salvation for ourselves, but instead, we do good things because we get to, not because we have to. We're not trying to gain salvation by doing good things because we already have the greatest gift that we could possibly have, and that's everlasting life. So in this way, no matter what your beliefs are, Christianity seems to be a great good for us as individuals, as well as a great good for us as a society. And so when it comes to this point, then boot makes a fair one. YouTube's algorithm thinks that you'll like this video, so let's see if they're right. And the next time that even a notorious Russian arms dealer says that we need Jesus and somebody else says that we don't, what are you gonna say? What do you mean?